This is the first in a set of videos which are going to walk through step by step the labs involved with the Microsoft official academic course installing and configuring Windows Server 2012 R2 in preparation for the exam 70-410. I have a print screen of the covers for both the textbook and the lab manual. Let's get started with installing HyperV and rebooting our machine. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. Here's the textbook we're going to be working from. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go into our control panel. So I'm working on Windows 8.1. So on my Windows icon, I'm going to right click and go up to Control Panel. Click on Programs, and then click on Turn Windows Features On or Off. Now if you've previously already installed HyperV, this is not a step you need to do. You can skip this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and check box the HyperV and just expand it to make sure everything else is checked, and it is. And then click on OK. It is going to prompt me to reboot. So once it comes up with that prompt, I will stop the video, reboot, and then we'll resume. Now I'm just closing out of my applications since I have to reboot anyway. Sometimes it takes a minute or so. Okay, so now it came up with Windows has completed the requested changes and we have to reboot. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this video and I'm going to restart my computer and I will pick it back up as soon as it reboots. Okay, now that we've rebooted our system and HyperV has been installed, let's take a look at what we're going to be doing. Week 1 of the class is going to go through lessons 1, which is going to install the servers, lesson 2, configure the servers, lesson 3, configuring the local storage, and lesson 4, configuring file and shared access. This first video is only going to go over setting up HyperV, creating the switch, and installing the 3 servers. So, and then basically finishing up lesson 1, and that includes the Windows Server migration, doing a fresh install, and doing an install as an upgrade. The next thing we're going to do is, okay, so we've done this. This is done. So now we're going to create a shortcut on the HyperV on our taskbar. And then we're going to go ahead and set up our HyperV with our virtual machines and our switch. So I'm going to minimize this. You'll see that I already have HyperV set up on my taskbar, but I'll remove it and I will show you how to add it. Unpin. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on my Windows icon, click on search, and type in HyperV. There's my HyperV manager. Now if I right click on it, I can go into pin the taskbar. And now it's pinned my taskbar, and I'll go ahead and open it. And here's my HyperV. Now one of the things I want to do before I get too far into this is I want to create a folder that's going to store my virtual environments, the machines, and the hard disks. So I'm going to open up my File Explorer, go into my C drive. Actually, I want to go to Documents. And I want to create a folder here called Virtual. So I'm going to click on New. folder, virtual machines, enter, left click, right click, new, folder, hard disks, enter. Now I'm going to create a folder I'm going to put them into. So new, folder, VM, for my virtual machines. And since this is for the exam 70-410, I'm going to call it 70-410. Enter. Now I'm going to select both of these and move them into that folder. Alright. Now I had to go into HyperV and point my HyperV settings to this folder. I'm going to close out of this, go into my HyperV, go into my HyperV settings, and virtual, and browse, and my documents, and I want to store my virtual hard disks, select, do the same thing with virtual machines, browse, documents, and virtual machines, select. Now I'm going to go ahead and do apply, even though you don't necessarily have to click apply, you can just click on OK, it'll do the same exact thing. And then we're going to click on OK. Now we have to create a virtual switch. The switch is going to allow the 3 virtual machines to talk to each other. So, virtual switch manager, and I've already created this one, I'm going to remove it, apply. Now let's go ahead and do a new switch, internal, create virtual switch, and we can now name it. Call it INT_switch, and then click on OK. Now I already have my ISOs that are going to allow me to install Server 2012 and Server 2008. So I'm simply going to point to them, but it's important if you're following along that you already have your ISOs somewhere available. New virtual machine, and we're going to call this Server A. And next, and we're going to let it go to Gen 1. And I'm going to change this to 1024 and use dynamic, which means it'll adjust the amount of memory based off what is needed. Next, connect to the switch. Next, next, install from operating system, image ISO. Here is my Server 2012, and I've already got this designated as Server A, and I made a copy for Server B. Open, next, finish. Now that we've attached the ISO, now we have to allow Server to install onto this virtual machine. I'm going to double click on my green button to power it. And next, and install. Now I'm going to pause the video while I put in the product key. Okay, now we can go ahead and go into Server with GUI. Next, accept. Next. And you want to do a custom install. And then next. And I'll let this do its install. Now while we're waiting for server A, let's go ahead and set up server B with server 2008. So I'm going to left click, right click, new, virtual machine, call this server B, and next, make sure my numlock is on, 1024, use dynamic, next, connect to the switch, next, install for an operating system, image file, browse, click on server 2008, next, and finish. Again, all I've done was attach the ISO to the virtual machine. So in order to install it, we have to double click our virtual machine, click on our green button to start it. Here I'm going to minimize this for a minute. Server A. Next. Install now. Again, we want to go with the enterprise. I've used the data center in the past, and for some reason when I go to upgrade that to server 2012, it doesn't allow me to do it within the GUI. I have to do it through a boot up. So I'm going to try doing 2008 enterprise, and then enter, accept, next. We're going to do a custom because we don't have a choice. Okay, it is installing our files. So I'm going to pause this video while I wait for one of these to finish, and then I will resume. Okay, so we're back. Server B is still working on installation, so we're going to set up server A, and we're going to put in the password. It's going to be $$WORD. And I'll show you the password we're going to be using. This is the password we're going to use on every single password. So keep it consistent in this case. Normally in real life you don't want to do that. It's too easy to hack. But for lab purposes you want to keep it with the same password because we're going to be using a lot of different levels or passwords required. Okay, now to do your Control-Alt-Delete. If you do Control-Alt-Delete on a virtual machine, it's going to do Control-Alt-Delete on your live machine. So the easiest thing to do is just click on this command button and type in the password. We're only going to do two things on server A, actually three. We're going to change the time, add an IP address, and change the computer name to server A, and then we're going to let it reboot. Once you change a computer name, it requires a reboot, so we'll allow the reboot after that. should come up with the server manager. Now I didn't have to do anything, server manager is automatically started. So waiting on server B. Alright. Still thinking. I'm going to click on local server, because that's what we're going to be working on. We're going to be working on the local server. As soon as this comes up, there we go, Ethernet. I'm going to click it. Go, left click, right click, properties, IPv4, properties, use the following IP address, and we're going to use 10, make sure your numlock is on, 10, 0, 0, 1, 255. Okay, now this is a Class A IP address, so I'm going to give it a Class A subnet IP address. The textbook, the lab beside the textbook says to assign 255.255.255. That's a Class C. So to keep it consistent, I'm going to just use the Class A subnet mask. Now here I'm also going to assign the preferred DNS server. That Class A is going to eventually become the DNS server. So we're going to go ahead and put in that IP address, 0, 0, 1. So as we get into doing server B and C, we're going to refer those back to this DNS server. Close out of this. Oops. Light keeps on coming up. Sometimes my mouse wants to stop working and I don't quite understand why. Okay, so now I've closed out of that. I'm going to close out of this. Just waiting for server manager to come back up. Now one of the things I can do from here while I wait for server manager to come up is I'm going to go ahead and right click on my network icon, open network and sharing, change advanced sharing settings. And we want to go ahead and turn on network discovery and file and printer sharing. And then save changes. Okay, now we're going to go back into local server. And I'm going to change the time. Change time zone. I'm on Eastern, so I'm going to set them all up as Eastern. Okay, okay. And then I want to click on computer name. And a lot of students will put in the computer description and say, okay, well I changed the computer name. Actually, no, you just changed the description. We actually have to click on change here. And here we're going to put in server A, and we're going to put it all in one word. I don't think it's going to let us apply the underscore, but I'm going to try it just for giggles. Yeah, see, now it doesn't let you use non-standard characters. So I'm going to go back to change. I'm going to do this server A, and then OK. And then OK. Close. And I'm going to go ahead and let it restart now. And then let's check back over on server B. Server B looks like it's still trying to finish booting up. There we go. So now it wants us to put in a password. We're going to use the same password we did on server A. And then click on our create. And we'll go ahead and do OK. And I'm going to log into server A as soon as it allows me. Still waiting on server B to finish setting up. And I'm going to wait for the server manager to come up. Okay, now that this has come up, I'm going to go into Media, DVD, and I'm going to eject. This was Windows 8. This is what we used to install Windows 8. So I'm going to eject that, and Media, DVD drive, insert disk, and I'm going to point it to the Server 2012 ISO. Open. Now I'm going to try running setup. I've gotten errors at this point before. Yeah. For some reason it keeps on coming up with this Windows setup error. Even though this is a Server 2012, it thinks it's a Windows 8.1. So, in order to upgrade this to a Server 2012, I have to do start, and I'm going to do a restart from here. And then do OK. While that's working, that we're going to go into Manage. And when we get into Server C, we're going to use a server migration tool, so I'm going to go ahead and add that now. Next. 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 I'm going to go into feature. I forgot this should have been booted from CD. Windows Server Migration Tools. Next. And then install. Okay, Control-Delete. I'm going to try it one more time from here from a different location, but I'm probably going to get the same error, so I'm going to reboot, and then we'll have to boot up from the disk. So if I click on Start, go and Run, do Browse, and oops, computer. Here's my ISO disk. Here's my setup file. Open, and then OK. Yeah, see, I'm still getting the same error. So I'm going to click on Start, Restart, boot up from DVD for Server 2012. That should give me an option to press any key. Now it should be booting up from the DVD that we've attached. So we should see Server 2012 come up. Okay, looks like our Windows installation was successful. I'm going to click on Close. And I'm going to minimize this briefly while we work on Server B. Next. Install. I'm going to pause this while I put in the code. Server with GUI. Next. Accept. Next. So I'm going to do the custom install. Okay. Now if I just wanted to format, I could reformat this and then just install it over the fresh partition. I'm going to go click on Next. I'm going to let it keep the 2008 and the old. fast working on that. Let's go back to server A. Now we've added the Windows Server migration tools to server A. The next step we're going to minimize this and go into right click, okay, we're going to right click our Windows icon and go into the command prompt admin. And from here we're going to type in cd space / Windows / System 32 / Server Migration Tools. And we are going to type in the following line. I'm going to open up a notepad document. I just want to show you the command I'm going to be typing in here. This is what we're going to type. So this is exactly what we're going to type. And notice the spaces here. So you have space here, you have space here, space here, space here, space, another space, another space. So this is exactly what we're going to type into our command prompt. Now the next line that we're going to type is going to be this. Okay, net space share space WSMT equals C:/users. Type that exactly how I have it up there. Now I'm going to leave this open for now. I'm going to save this and minimize this for now. Okay, how we doing? We're doing okay here. Now, server B is installing server 2012. Let's go ahead and start the installation for server C. So we're going to left click, right click, new, virtual machine. Call this server C. Next, next. 1024. Use dynamic. Next. Connect to the switch. Next. Next. Install from CD. Image. And again, we're going to start with server 2008. So I'm going to attach server 2008 to it. Open. Next. Finish. Then go ahead and double click. Turn on server C to start the installation. Next. Install now. I'm going to go ahead and do the data center. And next. Accept. Next. Customs, basically a fresh install. Click on the disk 0. Next. And I'm going to allow it to copy its files and do what it needs to do. So now to release my mouse from the server C, I'm going to do my Control Alt left arrow and just kind of move this over. So here we have server B getting ready to restart. Okay, we're back, and it's going to let me put in a password for server B. So I'm going to use again the same password we've been using. Capital P A $$ W0RD. And then confirm it. Okay, let's go ahead and log into server B. In the Control-Delete Command button up here. Okay, we're almost done with server B for now until lab 2. The only thing I want to do now is click on local server. As soon as it comes up. Change the time zone. And change the IP address. Left click, right click, properties. case. This one we're going to assign as 10.0.0.2. And remember, we're going to go back to that DNS server from server A. So 10.0.0.1. And then OK, close, close. Now we want to change the server name, and that's this right here. We want to change this to server B. So change server B, and then OK. It's going to make us restart, and that's fine because we're pretty much done with server B for this lab. And I'm going to do restart later because I actually want to shut this machine off. So right click, shut down. This is actually planned. Oops. Now I had rebooted server A. Because I wanted to adjust the amount of RAM that was being used. And while we're waiting on server C to finish up, this is a great time to do that. So if I right click here and I go into system, now initially the server only had 1.41 gigabyte, and now it has 2. Actually we want 4 of installed RAM on our server A, so I still want to turn this off and change this, but I also want to adjust server B so it's at the same 2.0 gig, and then server C will also be adjusted to 2.0 gig. So just to show you guys how we did that, turn that, close out of that, right click, shut down. And server B is already turned off. Close out of that. Alright, now A and B are both turned off. Now I'm going to go back into my HyperV manager. You can't do what I'm getting ready to do while the machines are turned on because it affects the virtual machine's hardware. So we're going to go into server A and go into settings and memory, and you'll see the startup RAM on this now has 2048. We actually want to double that, so it shows 4 gig of RAM. Okay, so we're going to change the 2048 to 4096. And then go ahead and click on OK. And I'm going to change server B, settings, memory, and this one we're going to change to 2048, and then OK. Now just to show you that we can't make that change on the server until it's shut down, I'll go to server C, click on settings, memory, and you see it's grayed out. I can't do anything here. So now I can restart server A and restart server B. I'm going to disconnect the media. Eject, because I don't need that media anymore. let's go back to server C. So that was server B. Go back to server C. Here we are, server C. Okay, how's server A? B coming. There's A. Let's sign in. Server B. And you should see a change. It should speed up a little bit now. Server A. Server B. Go ahead and log into server B. Okay, server C is finally installed. Let's go ahead and add the password. Over a little bit. I'll wait for the server manager to come up on that one. Click on local server. Okay, so we have server B. The name is on there. The IP address is on there. That's good. The only other thing I want to do with server B is go into the network sharing. So right click. Advanced sharing settings. Just turn on network discovery, turn on file and printer sharing, and save changes. Okay, server B is pretty much set. There's nothing else we can really do with server B at the moment. Let's bring server C over here. So the first thing we're going to do is set the time zone. Change. Go down to Eastern. And OK. And OK. Okay, now we're going to click on the configure networking. Left click, right click, properties. Go into IPv4, properties. So this one's going to be 10, 0, 0, oops, 0, 3, 10, 0, 0, 1, and then OK, and then close. And I will close out of this. the other thing I want to do is I'm going to right click here. Network and Sharing Center. And I'm going to turn on Network Discovery. And then Apply. Yes. File Sharing. Apply. And then folder. Turn on sharing. Then apply. Okay, now I can go ahead and close out of this. The next thing I need to do now is change the computer name. I'm going to click on change. Change this to server C. And then OK. It's going to make me reboot. Before I do that, though, restart later. Close that. Start network. It doesn't see server B yet. It's still thinking. So I'm going to go ahead and reboot and see what happens. Start. Restart. Now you'll notice that we have some errors here under server A. And you'll notice some of this is going to get fixed once we create the DNS, which we're going to do in another lab. Okay, it's going to let me log in. I'm going to pull up server A here. I'm going to minimize this. The folder that we created during the server migration process, I'm just going to pull that up. And that's this folder right here. So what we want to do, I'm going to leave that open for now and pull C back up. And minimize this. And start network. And let's see what it sees now. It sees itself as server C, but doesn't see server A, and that's not catastrophic. We know they're connected. Close this. Status. Properties. so it's set the same way that server A is, so it should see it. So close out of this, start computer, and I want to map to a network drive. And I'm going to let it default to Z. And I'm going to put in the IP address. So /10.0.0.1 browse. Now I'm going to expand it. And then click it. And then OK. And then finish. So now what I can do is select that folder and copy, go to computer, C, users, Control V. Okay, so now that I've moved it, I've actually copied it from server A to server C. Now before we can do anything else with that folder, I have to close out of this, go into my initial configuration. I need to add a feature. So I'm going to go down here to add features. Okay, I'm going to select on PowerShell, and then next, and install. Okay, let's go ahead and log back in. It's been installed. I'm going to click on close, and then close from here. Close. Start. Computer. C. Users. Now we are actually in, when I double clicked on Make Deploy, it actually opened up PowerShell for me. Now the next line I need to run is this. And I'm just going to put this on Notepad. This is what we're typing. That's what we're typing. Enter. I probably didn't do it right. So we're going to close out of this, even though it says PowerShell on it. And we're actually going to click on Start, All Programs, PowerShell. Okay, now I can go ahead and close out of this, and we've completed our migration process. And close, and that's going to end this video. The next video we will get into Lab 2. Which is going to get into configuring the servers, completing the post-installation tasks, adding more roles and features, converting the GUI interface to server core,